Hi everyone, it's Kestoraptorial. So I learned today that Hillary's campaign, Democrats are now paying YouTubers to support Hillary, abandon Trump, and rally others to do so. I'm just wondering, how low is this all going to sink? Where is the idea that people vote for candidates based on personal choice and judgment? Hillary Clinton herself, in her own words, has said, we can pour half of all Trump supporters into a basket of deplorables. She did say to grossly generalize, but that is still calling half of all Republicans, and I'm sure she actually means all Republicans, deplorables. Okay, that is still calling people in the country you're supposed to be, if you win, defending and leading and sympathizing with, deplorable. I don't see the Republicans doing that to the Democrats. And yet, it's perfectly fine to just dump on the Republicans all you want. Tease them, shame them, humiliate them, call them deplorables, call them monsters, call them bigots and racists. And the Democrats are almost completely free of teasing or any form of criticism. You know, in the debates, when Donald Trump tried to bring to attention Hillary's emails, or the fact that she was one of the major forces behind starting the Iraq War. And Trump is hounded by questions of, did he support the Iraq War? Did he not support the Iraq War? He wasn't in government at the time. And videos of the records of his interviews show that he didn't really support it. He didn't like it, but if we were going to fight a war, we should fight to win. We should fight with an actual plan of combat and of finishing the war. Look at what the Middle East has become. And he tries to go into depth in that at all, and Hillary and the Democrats just completely sidestep, brush away the questions. Just let's move on. About the emails, the whole I take full responsibility thing. You know, the idea of taking responsibility, I think the lesson we're all given as children, or at least what the lesson should be, is that saying the words, I take full responsibility, mean nothing at all, unless you actually make the attempt and effort to make amends, to solve the problem. The war is just getting worse. When there was the undecided Muslim during the second debate, asking Hillary and Trump the question of, what are we going to do about Islamophobia in this country? The Muslims feel marginalized by all the Islamophobia that Americans seem to have. Well, I'll tell you something. First of all, phobia is an irrational fear of something or someone. It is not a phobia to fear a terrorist attack when there are terrorist attacks happening all over the world and they are coming from Muslims. but yeah, ask Hillary or Obama about them, about each event. No, completely isolated. Nothing to do with Islam. Nothing to do with the call of jihad or anything. We do have a problem. We are in a religious war. The Islamic leaders have themselves, in their own words, declared war on Western culture, on Israel, on America. Call Israel the little Satan and America the big Satan. Their goal is to infiltrate the Western countries, Europe, already broken apart, already suffering, and America, through mass immigration. Gee, I wonder if it's a phobia, an irrational fear, for Americans to actually be concerned about that. No, I think that's actually what you call intelligent. Actually paying attention to what's going on in the world. Trump's answer was not bad. Look, there are people who are attributing these terrorist attacks to all Muslims, and yeah, there is a percentage of peaceful Muslims, but the problem is we still have the very real threat of this terrorism and this conquest from inside. How much is that covered? How much is what Americans are actually concerned about, say, the national debt, national security, immigration, future of Social Security, their freedom of speech? Can we actually get to talking about those? Trump's answer was that, we really need to take some time to figure out what's going on here. We need to put a suspension on immigration, I guess, to say the first words that come into my head. Maybe we can take a break for a while until we actually figure out what's going on. What is wrong with that? I can't call it racist because Muslims are not a race, it's a belief. It's a country that does not defend its borders is going to be walked all over. A country that cannot defend its people, that cannot stand its ground, that cannot be intelligent about people coming in or out, is going to be walked all over, is going to be invaded, is going to be torn apart. Americans are really concerned about this. And what is the major focus of the media? Some invasive, what they call locker room, even though that's not really the right term. Anyway, I don't know what the right term is. Maybe some very inappropriate talk that Trump did say 11 years ago. The fact that there's just more and more accusations of Trump having violated women coming out all the time, it actually, when they start to pile up like that, just at the time that Trump is very close to winning, or possibly winning, I hope he does. The Democrats could get so brutal that they just shame everyone who wants to support Trump into voting Hillary, because if they vote for Trump, their families will destroy them with shame. It's being used, and we need to stand firm against it, but brutal tactics, unfortunately, do work, and America is losing its courage to stand against abuse, actually, to stand against threats. Bill Clinton has three very valid accusations of actual rape against him. And how much are they focusing on that? Barely at all. And even if Trump said something hugely, massively inappropriate and disgusting, this was 11 years ago. This was long before he was in the running to be president. There are very good videos about the truth on the whole presidential race and so many other issues put out by Free Domain Radio and Stefan Molyneux. He's very good at exposing the truth, and you should definitely check out his videos. And if you find truth in them, support Free Domain Radio. I've given to it a couple times. It's as someone who really tries to be objective, and I've really tried to take that goal on of looking at things as a scientist. There is also this entire, I don't know if it's completely a lie, but certainly a stereotype of Republicans believing global warming is a hoax. Well, let me talk about that for a second. In high school, I was a Democrat. I believed that the Democratic Party was the party that cared about nature, the environment, the oppressed, the minorities. After seeing them for what they really are, the past several years, not during this debate, it's been the past, several years. Having seen them for what they really are, I'm a Republican now, and I'm proud of it. I'd actually like to think I'm more of... I wish there was a party called the Realist Party. The problem is they'd never be elected because they would be always talking about the brutal truth that no one really wants to hear, and they would never get enough votes to succeed. It's a sad world we live in, but the Republicans have a couple things wrong, and I will talk about those. One major thing is that a lot of money is missing from the economy because people are wasteful. That's not really right. I mean, like all things, there is a little bit of that. But managing money is so incredibly complex right now, and it's been made much more complicated than it has to be. That, and at the same time, we've got government spending way beyond their means. That it's really not the wastefulness that I've heard them say, at least not primarily. Back to the global warming thing. Another one is that global warming, some would call it a hoax, some would call it not happening, some would call it not a concern. Okay. I spent about a decade through high school and college focusing on ecological sciences. I'm very familiar with, environmental science was my major, focused on geology and ecology. I am very familiar with these sciences. I know how they generally work. I know how the natural world works. I don't believe that global warming is a hoax. To that, let me say this. I was picking up my younger brother from school a little while ago, maybe 1 or 2 years ago. And we were talking about, what they call climate change. They really mean global warming when they say that, but whatever, that's not the point. So we were starting to have a scientific discussion. My little brother's just entering high school now, so it's not like he was a little kid. Anyway, the question he asked me was, do you, meaning me, believe in global warming or not? And the answer I gave him was, I think, what the answer scientists should give. Science is not about belief. It's about fact-finding. It's about finding the truth. It's about working with what you have, with the information you can gather, with the analyses that you can do, and figuring out what your data shows. Well, climate science is one of the most complicated earth sciences there is. Maybe the most complicated, although hydrology can be really complicated too. Geology, the genetic sciences. So climate science is one of them. It's one of the most complex, and we do not well understand how it works, how all the factors involved influence each other over very long time periods. We really don't understand that very well. And I was reading the International Panel on Climate Change report that came out in 2014, not too long ago. I'll be going through it again sometime, and one of the conclusions is that water vapor, which is a greenhouse gas, by the way, and has always been there, there's no way to claim that water vapor was released by humans. The influence it has, the plus or minus to the heat intake, the balancing effect that it has, how much it heats up the planet, how much it cools down the planet, is so poorly understood that they didn't even work it into their models. Water vapor is a big part of the atmosphere. All right. We have by no means figured this out. And when Barack Obama tells us the science is done, that is him proving, in his own words, that he does not understand how climate science works. Okay? Especially with a science that complex. The models, the measuring, the analysis and reanalysis, how new factors influence what cycles are already going on, the effects and counter effects that go on for decades versus millennia versus millions of years, are not understood in their final version at all. So, I'm trying to remember what my next point was before I went off on this entire tangent. Which one exactly? Let's see, it was something about the stereotype on Republicans calling us deplorables when, of course, the Democrats are using just about every underhanded tactic possible to bully and threaten and call the Republicans monsters and bigots and racists and sexists. Oh yeah, about Donald Trump and these, and what he may have said No, I mean, the recording is there. What he said 11 years ago. And look, I've said in videos before, I didn't like Donald Trump that much in the beginning. But over the course of this year, I've gained a huge respect for him. The reality is, the American government is not listening to the American people. Donald Trump is attacked for not being a politician. Well, guess what? The politicians in our government are, in the vast majority, trained as lawyers. Well, lawyers are not taught to be truth finders. They are taught to win cases, which translates into, when they become politicians, to win votes. Now, the Republicans do this too. A lot of them are trained as lawyers, but they have an outlook that for right now is actually better for the country. We need to deal with the immigration, with the mass immigration that is out of control right now. The problem isn't that we're letting people in from other countries. The problem is that it's out of control. And that the world really has become a war zone right now. We do need to deal with the Mexican border. We do need to deal with the national debt. We do need to deal with taxes. I'll be addressing taxes in a whole other video because because I need another video. It's very complicated, and how it works and how it can come to work in the next several years is very complicated. Actually quite scary. We need to address it. The idea that the rich whether you're talking about this top 1% or people making over a certain number of dollars in income, the idea that they are hiding these huge hoards of money is a giant lie. These big businesses, they want to grow, they want to expand their business. That creates jobs, that hires people, and yeah, the person at the top, or the people at the top, the top levels, because it is a corporate ladder. It is a hierarchy in business. But the difference between America and a lot of other countries is that you can actually climb that corporate ladder if you have ambition, if you if you're reliable in work, if you contribute well, you can climb to the corporate ladder. If you produce valuable work. These corporations are actually helpful. The rich pay a lot of taxes. You ask, can they pay a little bit more? Well, here's the problem. What percentage of their income do you want them to pay? Because at some point, it's not going to be worth it to them to make any more money. And if they close their businesses because it's not worth making the money, if it's not worth it to them to make the money because it's all being taken away by taxes, which means they're not going to work super hard, they're not going to innovate, they're not going to work on expanding their companies. either because all their all their money to do so has been taken away, or because they get such a small reward that it's just not worth the effort. Well, those companies close down. Now you've got massive unemployment and things get worse. Okay, this is basic logic. Donald Trump knows how to build businesses. He knows how to employ people. He knows how to grow businesses. Yeah, a couple of them have gone under. A couple of them have failed. Look, that's always a risk. And when you've been working on business for as huge a scale as he has for as long as he has, there are going to be a couple of failures. There are going to be a couple of things that don't work. But he's always made comebacks, and we need someone to help the country make a comeback right now. And please, don't talk to me about these hordes of women suddenly coming out, talking about things Donald Trump did to them. Who knows what range of years they're picking. Doesn't it strike you a little suspicious that they're coming out now, just when all this has started? Don't you get a little suspicious? Also at the very same time, when people on YouTube are being bribed to support Donald Trump's opposition, and when his supporters are being called deplorable, maybe these women are being bribed, or perhaps worse, bullied or threatened to do this, in which case that's worse, because it would be an entire political party threatening the very people they claim to be standing up for just to get their votes, which actually wouldn't surprise me at all. We don't need Donald Trump to be perfect. Yeah, he's probably said and did some things he really shouldn't have. Maybe even that is an understatement, and he can say that. But he's gotta not fall into this, into the trap they're trying to trap him in, of playing the apology game again and again and again and again. When you're forced into apologizing for something, or for different things, over and over and over and over, the apologies actually start to lose their value. And when you come out with these accusations from people at probably the most suspicious time possible, that really calls them into question. I know sexual assault happens. I know rape happens. Yeah, I had to hear it over and over and over again in high school health classes, when most boys actually wanted to be respectful and protective of girls. They were just hammered into their heads how horrible males were, and it's shaming. It's the shame game again. And don't do this to honorable, respectful, and protective American men who, yeah, get a little rough in their speech here and there, but in proportion to the population, particularly compared to many people in many other parts of the world, very few of them ever act on it. When over in Europe, a small group of Muslims kidnapped 1,400 little girls and made them into sex slaves. And how much of an outcry was there about that? The police were afraid to arrest and to convict them because they would be called racist. And if you think that's not true, that happened with the Orlando, the San Bernardino, the terrorist attacks all over the place. People were afraid to say anything when they saw these people harassing their co-workers, having very suspicious parcel upon parcel delivered to their house, and numerous other signs. But people were afraid to say anything out of fear of being called racist and of being attacked themselves. Don't just brush that aside. Don't pretend that's not happening. And then attack Trump and his supporters who are actually trying to help the country, trying to save the country from sinking into communism, which never works. I'll talk more about these issues later. Maybe I'll even invite my little brother to come talk with me. He's become very aware and interested in the issues in the world, so it'd be fun to have the two of us talk. But as I said, and as I've said before, I used to be a Democrat. I used to buy it. I'm not buying it anymore. I am completely behind Trump. I'm going to support Trump until the end of the race. And if there's a chance of reversing the massive damage that's been done to our country, whether or not Hillary Clinton gets elected, even if Trump wins, the damage has been so huge. I hope he can help. I'm sure he can help us reverse it. Whether the damage has already been too much, I'm not sure of yet. But I'm sure going to do what I can to support the recovery effort in America, because we need one. And it's not going to come from the Democrats, not from what I've seen. I'm really ashamed of the Democrats, and I don't want to be. Donald Trump, I'm supporting you.